Welcome everyone to my Blender 2.78C intro for 3D printing. Today I'm just going to show you a little bit about how you can get started. I know before I've been doing the speed models, so this way you can kind of, if you've never used Blender before, you can either start using it for yourself to make your own models, or if you're just trying to figure out what I'm doing. If you want to try out Blender for yourself, I'll go ahead and put the link down below so that way you can go ahead and download it and you can either follow along or give it a shot after the tutorial. But also something that might be really useful to you is a hotkey chart. So basically with Blender you use your keyboard a lot. So you can either just go onto Google and find, they'll have images or lists of just the keys that you'll be using, but I will try to say them whenever I am hitting a key. I'll let you know and explain what its uses are. So again, this is for 3D printing. I'm not going to go over materials or anything like that. So when you first load up Blender, there will be a menu that pops up. Just click out of it. You don't need anything on there unless you want to, it'll show your previous files and some other links for Blender's website. But I already minimized that, so that's not showing at the moment. But I am using the latest version, the 2.78C, latest version at the moment. But of course, if you have an older version, what I'm going to go over should still apply. We don't need the animation keys. I'm just going to minimize it, not totally delete it, but okay. So basically, when you first load up Blender, after you minimize or get rid of that little menu, this is going to be your basic scene. So whenever you start Blender, it will give you a cube right here, this guy, a lamp, and a camera. Now since we're going to be focusing on 3D printing, the lamp and the camera aren't needed. So I am going to go over here and just get rid of them. I didn't delete them because sometimes if for some reason I feel like rendering a scene, I'll bring them back. But you can delete them if you do not want them. Now, next, obviously, to select things, you don't left click. If you left click, this cursor is going to move. This is your cursor. Whenever you add objects or things like that, you can do different things with the cursor. So left clicking, whoops, left clicking will do that. So if you need to ever put that back because you left click somewhere, you can hit Shift C and it will go back for you. To actually select something, you'll notice that the orange box will come up on what's selected, but you will just right click on the object that you want to select. To add objects, you do Shift A and this menu, the add menu, will pop up. You can do it other ways somewhere. I don't use it because it's so much easier to use both of your hands and just use your left hand to add in your whatever mesh you want. So yeah, I typically will either start with a cube, sphere, circle, or cylinder. The monkey head is probably more fun for you if you are just starting. You can kind of go in there and see what everything is made of. To delete things, hit X. And you can either click delete or hit enter, whichever one you want. Doesn't matter, your preference, whichever way you can work faster. I'm not going to really go over any of these other things today. We're just going to worry about meshes. Plus, I don't really use too much else for 3D printing except for maybe text and curves. These are for animation. And you don't really need lamps or cameras for printing. So yeah, pretty much mesh, curves, and text. Pretty much all you need, basically, unless you're doing something crazy fancy. But we're just going to stick with mesh for today. So, when you're looking at your cube, you'll notice that, you know, when you hold your center wheel button down, you can go ahead, circle all around however you need to view it. If you don't need to rotate it, hold shift down and you can pan side to side, up, down, any direction you want, but the scene doesn't move, just your camera, if that makes sense. Okay, so camera movements, if you want an exact, okay, like say you want to see perfectly the front of your scene, the number pad comes in very handy. If you have a keyboard without a number pad, there's another way to set your keys differently. You can go into the user preferences and change your keys if you need to, but if you have a number pad, then you don't have to worry about it. So for the camera, just, you know, so that way you can see the front or the left or whatever. 5 gives you perspective view, so if you hit one of the keys and it's like weird looking like this, hit 5 and it'll give you the flat view. So 1 is front, 3 is the side, and 7 is the top. Typically I don't hit 5 to go into perspective view. I just hit the mouse wheel and start turning, and that'll give me the view that I actually want. Because typically if you hit 5, it just it doesn't work the way I like it to. Hitting the wheel button is much better. Now, one thing that can be very useful if you're adding a lot of different meshes in here is renaming. Just double click and you can type in whatever name, whether it's your desk or your barrel or whatever you're creating. It's a good idea to rename your objects, so that way if you like have another file and you're importing stuff, you're not like, oh my gosh, which cube 0.001 or 2 or 5, which one do I want? You know, oh, this is my barrel, oh, this is my desk, this is the fancy desk, whatever. It's a good idea to rename and keep your files organized that way. Speaking of your file, to save your file, hit Control S and it will open up your save files. So just navigate wherever you want. Test file. Just name it test for now because it's just showing you guys what I'm doing. And then you can just hit enter twice and it will go ahead, and you'll notice that up here it has the file name right there for you. So whenever you make a change, you can just hit Control S and the file name will pop up. It'll say save over and you'll just click it or hit enter and it will save for you. Awesome. So to get started, you'll notice that I'm in object mode. There are quite a few other modes that you can use as well, but we're only going to worry about edit mode and object mode. So first, let's model a vase, because that's something very simple and easy for you guys to follow along with as one of your first models. So obviously a vase is going to be round unless you're doing something cooler and maybe modern, but I'm going to do a round vase. So I'm going to delete this cube, hit X, enter, awesome, it's gone. Shift A to add in, I'm not going to do a sphere because then I have to like do more work. So we're going to start with a circle. So you'll notice the circle is, well, a circle. Not filled in or anything. You can change that, but I'm going to leave it unfilled because I'll fill it myself later. Vertices, however, 32 is a lot, and I'm going to be adding a modifier later to make it smoother, which I'll show you. So we're just going to drop that down to 8. 8, yes, perfect. Reason being, it helps to keep your meshes as clean as possible, and what I mean by that is like the less vertices that you have, just the easier it is on your computer to handle. Of course, we're not rendering or anything, but it's just easier, plus it's less for you to manipulate, and we're going to add a modifier to add more vertices later on anyway. So just good practice to start with the least amount of vertices possible. So when I like to start with a circle, I'll usually go down to 8, so that way I have a vertice on each of the X and Y axis sides. Obviously, there's nothing on Z because I haven't done anything on Z yet, but I have a point on each side of X and Y. So it still kind of keeps that circle. And if I wanted to do a mirror modifier, which I do on a lot of my models, I can delete this side and I have a point where it will reflect perfectly and I don't have to add anything. Okay, which I'll show you the mirror modifier later as well, so you'll understand what I'm talking about. Okay, so vertices 8, fill type, I'm going to leave as nothing, but of course if you're doing something where it's like, oh, I want to start with a fill, you can do either of these two. Align to view will be like, say you want your circle to face this way instead of being flat down, you can hit align to view and it'll face you this way. It's something that, you know, user preference for whatever you're modeling. But we are all set for a vase for now. So the only other thing we need to change now is the scale. Because right now it is set to something called blender units. Oh, except I already changed it earlier. Typically, it's going to be set to blender units when you first start up your file. So I like to change it to inches because that's what I'm used to working in. And you can, of course, use centimeters or whatever you want to use. But I'm going to be working in inches today. If you hit N, you'll be able to see the dimensions of your circle. So right now it's set to 2 inches. If you want to size it down manually, you can hit S and scale it down and you'll see the numbers change along with it. But I'm just going to type it in and oops, change this to 1 inch, 1 inch. Perfect. I have a 1 inch circle. Now, one other thing I want to change real quick before we get into editing is changing the grid. I like to have, where is it? Display, scale 0.25. I've talked about this in my previous videos as well. I'd like to change the scale of the grid to have 4 squares per an inch, so it's quartered. Just it's easier for me to work. Of course, do what you want, do whatever scale you would like for your grid. That's the easiest way for me. If you're working in centimeters or something, I would suggest, you know, 0.25 inches isn't gonna work as well. It'll change for however you need it to. Okay, so I'm gonna hit N again to make that window disappear, or menu disappear. And we are going to get into edit mode. To get to edit mode, you can go here and hit edit mode, but that takes too long. Tab will take you right into edit mode. If you have other objects in here, whatever's selected will take you into edit mode. So if I had like, oops, if I had a cone over here, I have that selected, I will be in edit mode for this cone. I can't edit this circle. This circle does nothing for me. Yeah, it even grabs the cone even when I'm over here. Alright, so I'm going to get back out of that. X to delete, delete. Awesome. I'm going to click this circle and we're going to start editing our circle to make a vase. I hit 1 to go to the front view. I don't need this transform panel at the moment, so I'm going to hit T for that to minimize. Alright, so I have all the vertices selected at the moment because they're all orange. If you want to deselect everything at the same time, you can hit A. To reselect everything, hit A. Just hitting A will either select or deselect everything depending on what you have selected. If I wanted to just say, you know, select a vertice, right-clicking again. Right-clicking is how you're going to select things. Using the left mouse button will still just move that cursor, and we don't need to move the cursor, so just keep right-clicking. If you wanted, actually, I'll get to that in a second. So I'm going to hit A, so I have everything selected. I'm also going to go to view 1, camera view 1, so that way we're looking at the front of the vase. Now, obviously, we just have a ring of vertices that are, you know, you can pretty much only move these vertices at the moment. Not much of a vase. I'm going to hit Control Z to undo what I just did. Go back to 1. I'm going to select everything and hit E to extrude. Awesome. Now I have this thing attached to my mouse pretty much. So you can either take it and click to wherever you want it to be, or if you just grab, whoops, if you hit escape after you extrude it and grab your arrows, you can move it to wherever you want. It's usually my preferred method of taking things because I like it. Usually I'm not going in a weird direction. Sometimes I am, depending on what I'm modeling. But for a vase, I want to go straight down. So I'll use that Z-axis arrow and pull straight down. Now for the base of the vase, I want it to be much smaller. I'll just do like that for now. Now since I don't want to grab everything, because right now if I hit A, it's going to select everything, and I don't want to extrude all of these. I want to do this ring of vertices. Now if you want to select each one by holding shift, go right ahead, but again, that takes too long. So what I'm going to do is hold Alt and select that ring, and it selects that ring of vertices for me. Awesome. With 3D modeling, it's all about shortcuts. Okay, so I'm going to hit E to extrude again, hit escape, and pull this up. I'm going to hit size, S to size it, and I'm just going to size it, make it, you know, however you want. I'm just going to go right there. Hit E to extrude, escape, go up, S to size again. We'll do right there. E to extrude, escape, go up, S for size, and there you go. Perfect. That's great. We'll just do that very, very, very basic shape for now. I'm going to grab this ring by holding Alt and right click, F. F to fill. F for another face, whichever you want to call it. Now, there's a couple ways, because with 3D printing there needs to be a thickness. You can't just upload this model to Shapeways and have it print properly, because this is too thin. It's just one face thick, if that makes sense. This would be too thin, it's not going to print. So you can either add a modifier, which is the, where is it? Solidify modifier, which will add a thickness for you. Personally, I like to have more control over this than that. If it's a very simple model, like for this one, you could easily do the solidify modifier. I personally don't like to work that way. If you do, by all means, use the solidify modifier. I'm probably making it harder on myself by not using that. But I like to choose to make my own. So hit E, escape, and then just hit size to add a lip. Now to see inside, I'm going to hit Z. This is called wireframe mode. View, wireframe view. I can, you know, it adds like an opacity to it so that way you can see inside of it. I'm going to hit 1 so I can see. E, escape, I'm just going to pull it down. S to size. I'm going to try to make it parallel. E again, pull it down to this line, size it up, make it parallel. E to extrude, bring it down, size again, and probably that, and then there's a hole, F to fill. Perfect. Now we have a thicker base. I like to work that way. Just personal preference. You don't have to work that way. You can certainly use the the solidify modifier. Now, it's very, very geometric at the moment, which is cool. You could totally upload this to Shapeways right now and have it like this. Or use it on your personal 3D printer. It would be fine. But let's say you want to make this smoother. You want it to be a nice smooth base. That's where, oh darn it, subdivision surface. I use this on almost every model. Subdivision surface basically subdivides your model, which you could do by hand, but it's a lot more work. And if you hit W, subdivide, it's with everything selected, that is. It's just going to add the lines and not make it smooth. You would actually have to go smooth like that, and it's going to be kind of wonky. Well, actually, that looks kind of cool. Huh. Okay. So sometimes it might work out, and you'll have happy accidents. Ooh, but oh gosh. All right. There will be some weird stuff with it, most likely. So I'm going to hit Control Z twice to undo those. And we're going to put this view back, and you'll notice that, oh yes, if you want to look, because sometimes it's easier to model without that on, but you don't want to get rid of it. So you can just hit the eye, just like I did for the camera and the lamp, to turn it on and off. Usually I go up to 3. Oops. Since we're not rendering, you don't have to do the render one as well, but I just do anyway. I subdivide it up to 3 times because that usually gives me a very nice smooth finish. Now you notice it also got rid of, you know, some of my angles. It's not very flat on the bottom anymore. It gets a little wonky in here. So, and this lip is probably way too thin to print now. So, ways to fix that. Kind of like we did before, Alt right click this bottom, because I want this bottom to be completely flat and have a sharp edge. So what you want to do to get a sharp edge, hold Shift and hit E, and it comes up like that little size arrow does, and just pull that all the way out, and now you have a flat bottom with a sharp edge. Shift E to sharpen any edge for you, and that will work beautifully. And now it has a flat edge. You don't have to worry about printing this out and it falling right over. So you don't want that. Okay, but now this, you know, it's not very shapely anymore. We're gonna go ahead and do Control R to add another loop in here, and we're gonna size that up to give it some more body. I'm gonna grab this one, size that down maybe. Right now we're just having fun with it though. If we want to do this, but now my inside is not small enough, so we're going to do that. Just Control right click, size. Now for the lip, to make this thicker, one of the easiest ways, you can either add a loop, Control R, pull this up, which I think actually works really nice for that. And another way, Control R again and add a face, or I'm sorry, a loop right here. Add even more thickness to bring that mesh up. And to make it a little bit more round, I'm going to bring that up a little bit so it's still nice and smooth and looks like a vase. Awesome. So there is, if you hit Tab, if you want to see what it looks like all smoothed out, hit T again, and you'll notice over here there's a shading and a smooth button. Right now it's flat. It's showing each face as if, you know, as it would be. I want it to look smooth, and it's very nice. You know, this is a good model. Everything's pre-geometric. Oh, one thing I forgot to do, I am going to grab this circle on the inside, not that one, this one. Oh, what in the world? Not sure why those are there. But anyway, I'm just going to ignore that for now. Gonna go around, grab these vertices, and I'm also going to sharpen this as well. Just because I can. Okay, perfect. So we have our vase. So you could throw this into your own 3D printer, have it print out after you apply the subdivision surface modifier, of course. Because right now, if you export this, it's going to print like that. It's not going to have this whenever you have a subdivision surface modifier, you have to apply it before you export it, or else it's going to look like this. Not that. So that is some of the basics. If you would like more in-depth tutorial, please let me know. I can go in depth more days. There we go. So you hit, oh, actually, let me show you real quick. If I hit apply and then go back, tab in, now the vertices are all exactly how they would be. But you didn't have to work with all of these because extruding that many times would have taken forever. So it does the hard work for you. So yeah, work smarter, not harder. Works nice. Perfect. So tab in and out, E to extrude, S for size. Oh, if you want to rotate, R to rotate. Let's say you wanted, oops. Let's do Alt right click, Alt Shift right click these. Go to camera view 1. Oh, probably want this one as well. Hit R and rotate. Now you have an interesting base. Rotate it and just have it slightly off. However, but yeah, R to rotate, S for size, E to extrude, which you would not want to do that many at a time, depending on what the situation is. Shift A to add meshes. Spacebar will actually pop up a search box, so if you can't find something, you can search it. X to delete vertices, edges, faces, you know, that kind of thing. You can switch here, vertices, edges, faces. Z, so that way you can see through it and look at your mesh. But that is all I'm going to show you today, so I don't overwhelm you. I like to just show off a few minor things, so that way you guys can go ahead, play around with Blender, see what questions you come up with, and then ask me down below in the comments, and I can either just respond to them depending on what they are, or if you want a video about something else, again, just let me know. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. Again, comment me with any questions or opinions or anything like that, and give me a like and subscribe, and I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.